Hey, what's going on, guys? Rome Gaming here, back into the video. Today's episode, we're going to be taking a look at some of the best Mythic Plus healer trinkets for Mistweaver Monk. So the website you're looking at here, I've never showcased this website before, but a lot of people have used it in their YouTube videos. It's called questionablyepic.com. I know I'm not showing the URL up at the top, but it's just questionablyepic.com. Then you come in here, you press the QE Live, you press go, and then you'll get presented with this sort of dashboard here, and you can come in here, you can select a specific character, then you can press trinkets, and you kind of get this sort of simulation. I'll put the link in the description of the video if you don't want to go through all those steps. But for now, we're going to be looking at Mistweaver Monk and some of their best trinkets. So right off the bat, see we have a filter here for raids, the rest, and dungeon. So I only cover Mythic Plus content, and thankfully for Mistweaver Monk, the best trinkets for Mythic Plus don't actually come from raid. So you can see here as I toggle raid on and off, the first 4 trinkets, you can find them all in dungeons, right? So Gale of Shadows, Unbound Changeling, the Sacbrood, and then the Crystal of, however you say that. So we'll just refer to this one as the Empowering Crystal for now. So yeah, let's just talk about these top 4 trinkets. They all come from Mythic Plus, so you don't have to worry about going into raid or doing some weird side quest or something. They all come from Mythic Plus. So let's just take a look at them really quick. So we'll just kind of work from top down. So Gale of Shadows here, I have it open in a link. You're gonna get haste from it, and then it has an equip. So you're healing direct damage periodic spells. Grant 191 intellect each time the healer deals damage. 15 seconds, stacks up to 20 times. And the reason this is gonna be so strong is mainly due to the haste that we're getting, but really more than anything, it's going to be from the equip intellect, right? You're getting 20 stacks of 200 intellect. That's 4,000 intellect, and roughly 4,000 intellect and 1,400 haste, right? That's really powerful to get those 2 in combination as Mistweaver Monk. Now, the problem with this trinket, and I guess if you're a grinder, it's not that big of a problem, but the drop rate on this thing is only 2%. And it's actually, go back, it's actually lower than 2%, because let's say, for example, you don't get a piece of gear, right? You only get a piece of gear like half of the dungeons, right? So take that number and divide it by 2. You're looking at probably like a 1% chance each time you go and do this dungeon to get this Gale of Shadows. So, you know, it's not something I'm necessarily going to be farming for it right off the bat. Would be nice to get it early, sure, but, you know, such a low drop rate, I think this one is going to be a little bit difficult to farm out. So even though it is the most powerful trinket, it will not be the one that, you know, I'm going for right off the bat. Now, right behind Gale of Shadows, we do have the Unbound Changeling here. So we have this pulled up in a tab. So very similar. We're getting 3,600 intellect and then 5,000 haste. So the difference in the haste here is, right, you just have a chance to get this. With the other trinket, with the Gale of Shadows, you always get that haste, right? So, and at level 80, I forgot to say this is equivalent to about 2% haste. So that's quite a bit. Now this trinket specifically is going to be one of the better ones to farm due to it has a better drop rate for one, and then number 2, it's in one of the easiest Mythic Plus dungeons, right? Mist is probably the easiest dungeon in the game. So being able to farm an easy dungeon, you know, you have a 1 out of 10 chance to get it. Probably lower, right? Because you're not always guaranteed a piece of gear at the end of the dungeon, but you kind of get my point. I would probably be farming a Changeling over a Gale of Shadows early. So up next, right behind the Changeling, we have the Sacbrood. So we'll go into it right here. So again, we do get that 1,400 haste. And then we do have an equip here. Your abilities have a chance to stir the sac, releasing an egg that grants you 1,400 primary sac. Each egg hatches after 1 minute. The new brood attacks your next target, inflicting X amount of nature damage over 8 seconds. So again, we're seeing the same sort of pattern here. Haste and main stat, haste and main stat. If you can get those 2 in a trinket, you're going to be in a pretty good spot this season. And this trinket specifically is coming from City of Echoes. So it has a 46% drop rate. So this will be one of the first trinkets that I personally go for, because I know it's one that I can just get in there, farm it out 5 or 6 times. I'll probably get a drop by then. And, you know, I can just kind of move on. And I'm already getting the vast majority of the power from this graph here. So this will be one of the first trinkets I go for. The next trinket I'm going to go for is going to be this Empowering Crystal here. Again, it's in the 4th spot, but one of the reasons I'm going for the Empowering Crystal, let's just take a look at it real quick. So grants 3,600 main stat, agility or intellect, And then your spells have a chance to let loose an empowerment from the crystal, increasing a random secondary stat by 3,300 for 20 seconds. So one of the reasons this is a little bit weaker, right, is we're not guaranteed that haste. However, it's still a very powerful trinket. And one of the reasons I'm farming for this first is due to the high drop percent chance, so 21% drop rate. So this is going to be the second most common trinket in the top 4, right? So Sacbrood's like a 46%, the Empowering Crystal's sitting at like a 20-ish%, the Changeling at about a 10%, and then Gale of Shadows all the way down to a 2% drop chance. Now, once you do get past these 4 trinkets, let's just say, for example, you're in LFR, you're in raid for whatever reason, just normal raid, right? And you get one of these 3 trinkets to drop. So we got Spymaster's Web, the Codulum, and the Egg here. So these 3 are still really strong trinkets. So if you do get those to drop, you're still sitting in a really good place. You can kind of see just looking at the power level, it's very similar to, the top 4 that we just talked about. So if you end up with one of those trinkets anywhere like from here up, you're sitting in a pretty good spot, right? From Scrap Singer Symphony, even though I don't think that's a super strong trinket. But if you get, we'll just say from Mercurial Egg and up, you're sitting in a pretty good spot in terms of trinkets. If you get any of these down here, unfortunately, I've gotten a whole bunch of these from like Vault and stuff. So these trinkets aren't quite as good down here. I had the Siphoning Shard. It's just really weird to play around. I did get Scrap Singers as well in a Vault. That was a little bit unfortunate. Again, it says it's pretty strong on the graph here, but I'm not necessarily sold on it. It doesn't give secondary stat. And then another thing, guys, is there is a Wowhead link, and I will put it in the description of the video. If you want to do like a little bit more digging into some of these trinkets and kind of look at some of the source of these trinkets, Wowhead does have a Mistweaver Monk specific page here. You can toggle between the different tabs like Raid, Mythic Plus. You can kind of look at the different trinkets, kind of get sort of a tier graph rating from them. And then one thing that's really neat here, I didn't even know this existed, is there's like an explanation of each individual trinket on why it's pretty good, right? So, and one thing that I thought was kind of interesting, you can come into Delves here. So I'm not sure, I don't think this graph showed anything with Delves. It doesn't show any of the candles here. So the graph itself might be a little buggy. So here it is. Here's the candlestick, but it only shows it when you select all 3. And then when you go into the rest, it doesn't show the candlesticks. I don't know, might be some sort of bug there. Anyways, kind of getting off topic, but you can go into, where to go, Wowhead here, go through the different tabs, different filters, kind of see, you can pick up some easy trinkets through Delves, through crafting. Looks like the trinket's pretty garbage. The Alchemist Stone, you can filter by Mythic Plus and by Raid as well. I'll say one other thing that's really nice about these trinkets is there's no like on use effect for a lot of them. And, they're very passive to play around. So that's one of the things I personally look for in a trinket, is something that's not odd to play around. So all of these top 4 trinkets are just completely passive. You don't even have to think about them at all, which is in comparison to last season, last expansion, we had that Smolderling Seedling for Raid. Really awkward to play around. You had to funnel like a Soothing Mist into it, and you had to pump big single target healing into it. It's kind of hard to play around. So I think for this first season here, we do have a pretty good set of trinkets here to go out and farm. I don't think they have any sort of like insanely crazy drop rates, so should be able to pick them up pretty easily. So yeah, guys, I think that's pretty much it for this video. Mistweaver Monk is looking pretty solid in the trinket department. Trinkets that are pretty easy to get, trinkets that are really strong, they give us really good stats, and then trinkets that are also very easy to play around. So yeah, if you guys enjoyed the video, please consider liking, subscribing to the channel. I will also put a link to my Mythic Plus channel in the description of the video. It's basically just us doing Mythic Plus runs on my side channel. I mentioned it in my last video. I'll probably keep mentioning it, for the next month or two, just kind of here and there. But it's just going to be a video completely dedicated to my Mythic Plus footage. It's going to be low keys across all the healers. There's going to be no commentary, anything like that. It's just an upload channel. So yeah, if you guys want to see some of that stuff, go ahead and subscribe to that channel as well. Thank you guys for watching and supporting the channel. As always, we'll see you on the next one.